All right, so as we have promised you on the SABC, we've been bringing you some live digital analysis as well, really representing what that data looks like in terms of a graphic user interface. And you can see what is being reflected through the trends in the data at this hour with the data available as we await more announcements and updates from the IC. On your screen, we've got the top three, those contenders just after that 52% voting district tallying. You can see President CYRIL RAMANPHOSA from the ANC leading at 42%. That roughly translates to about just over 3 million votes. Coming in second at this hour, as we continue to monitor those developments, John Steenhuisen is sitting at 1.67%. That translates to about 23% of the vote. These, of course, are just projections, and this is based on that CSIR model that we have been using. Give or take some of the margins, the margins are about 2%. And then obviously ZUMA, they representing MK party, sitting at 772,109. That, as it stands, predicted to, garner them about 11% of the vote. So that's your top three. That's the situation happening nationally at this point. We're now going to also be honing in on what's happening provincially. Those data results have also emerged. In fact, the provincial seats can also be, identified at this point. So you can see there now on the Eastern Cape, that's the first province that is coming through at this hour. Looking at the bar graphs here, you're also looking at the pie chart. Let's start off with that bar graph there. The ANC in green topping the Eastern Cape, 46 seats projected within the provincial legislature. And of course, the DA at 11, the EFF at 7, the UDM garnering about 3 seats, the Patriotic Alliance 2, and the other parties will garner about 3. That makes up the 80 seats within the Eastern Cape provincial seats. And so obviously, as we look to that pie chart, just to on the other side of the bar graph, of course, because 66.3% of the voting has occurred, that counting, has occurred, that saw a 52.7% national turnout. And so graphically, that now represents about 66% for the ANC, the DA at 12%, EFF 10%, Patriotic Alliance 4%, UDM 2%, and then, of course, 6% rounds up the other two, complete that 100% pie chart. Let's move on to the other province now. After the Eastern Cape, we're moving swiftly to the next province. Let's allow our cameraman just to zone out there so that I can see the province that has come to the fore. We're looking at the provincial indicators that are coming through now. That race for provincial seats in the Free State. Out of 30 seats that are available, these predicted seats are looking like for the ANC, 53%. That's about 16 seats. You can see 7% for the other parties, 22% for the DA. The seats predicted there is about 7. 13% is 4 seats. And then obviously the Freedom Front Plus with 1 and the MK also sitting with 1. Let's continue now with our coverage. From the Free State province, we're going to hone in on Gauteng. That's been a hotly contested province. We know it's the economic hub of South Africa and the continent at large. So the figures as it stands, with 48.4% of that counting in progress, we're looking at the ANC sitting at 33%, the DA at 29%, EFF 13, the MK coming in at 9%. So as we look at what that translates into seats provincially, obviously out of 80 seats, the ANC is set to projected rather to receive 28, the DA 22, the EFF 11, MK sitting at 8. Let's move on now to the other provinces. Of course, there are 9 provinces in South Africa. We've tracked 3. Let's see what's next. KwaZulu-Natal, another hotly contested, province. We've seen some inroads by new players in this game. Percentages coming through after 37.9% of the counting progress underway. We saw a 62.6% national provincial turnout there. So 44% for the Umkhonto weSizwe party. Of course, they are represented graphically with the light green. Just next to them, the ANC in a darker shade on that pie chart, 19%. You've got the IFP coming in rather closely at 17%, and then 14% for the DA and the EFF rounding off that 2%. Let's see what else we have in store for you. in terms of the provincial provincial projections. In Mpumalanga province now, that's also had served as quite a conversation starter. We're looking at some of the swing votes. We're looking at some of the dynamics unfolding. The pie chart there on your screen with a 56.5% turnout. Counting progress after a 57.7% national turnout. We can see the ANC is at 49% within that province. This is obviously based on a prediction. 18% for MK, 14% for the DA. You've got the EFF at 13%, rather tailing closely behind the DA there, and 2% for the Freedom Fund Plus, and then other will finish up the rest of those percentages there. We're moving on now. We've got the Northern Cape. Northern Cape were the first province, in fact, to reach most of the counting and processing of those votes. As it stands, 99.5% is what that counting progress is looking like for the Northern Cape province. 60.9% national turnout. You can see that pie chart. Perhaps as we look at what those percentages are going to translate, let's look at the bar graph just to the other side of that pie chart, because the ANC with 49% is projected to get about 15 seats out of 30 seats. The DA 21%, that will translate to 7 seats for them. 13% for the EFF, that is about 4 seats. And then looking at some of the other numbers, we've also got, Freedom Fund Plus, who's set to get 1, and that roughly translates to about 2%. So moving on now to another province coming to the fore. We're almost wrapping up. We've got Limpopo, where they've got 64 seats available, 64 provincial seats. Now, the ANC projected to receive 48 there, followed by the EFF 9. The DA 4, Freedom Fund Plus 1, MK 1, and obviously rounding up those 64 seats. Other will complete that. So those are just some of the ways we're trying to interpret the data. As we mentioned, the IC's dashboard had crashed, and we're trying to establish the reasons as to that as we await the IC's announcement and, just updates on that. We'll continue to bring you the latest results. These tracked back to about 2 hours ago. For the Northwest now, there's 38 seats. Percentage-wise, after 52.2% of the counting progress underway, 60% for the ANC, 17% for the EFF, 12% for the DA, and then obviously Freedom Fund Plus, they're sitting at 3%, and then MK infiltrating there with their 2%. Again, that obviously translates to the percentage average of the projections there for that province. The Western Cape obviously took a break yesterday, but we saw that the counting in fact had resumed at 6 a.m. and 69.2% of that counting progress is now underway with a 59.4% national turnout. So the race for seats provincially in the Western Cape province, 42 seats available. On your screen graphically you can see how that translates. There's 23 seats for the DA, and obviously some of the other projections coming through. So we'll leave that there for now. Continue to monitor all this and more. Our roaming coverage continues. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll take a quick ad break and be right back on the other side of this.